Hello, everybody. It is time for another MLB Live Before Lock. So, if you guys are coming in right now, which I assume you are, because if not, you're either from the future or you were watching the show 10 minutes ago, which isn't possible. Do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric Lindquist and I are about to give you guys a full breakdown of everything you need to know to make yourself some winning MLB DFS lineups today. So, if you got any questions for us and you are a Stokastic sub, hit us up in the Discord channel. That would be much appreciated and probably help you out a little bit as well. If you got questions for us in the YouTube chat, throw a super chat. We'll read those off as well. But Eric, what's going on? How's your day going? And any general thoughts for tonight's MLB slate?
Yeah, we've got a lot of good pitchers to kind of comb between. I mean, there's nobody pulling an outrageous amount of ownership, but I do have very clear stands with my pitchers today. I'm playing a handful of lineups, kind of rotating it around. So it'll be a little bit more condensed than normal. But I think the theme of the day is I'm very, very straightforward at pitching, even with so many different options kind of at our disposal. I guess Minnesota, the main spot that we've got to pay attention to weather. There's nothing else that I think matters on the slate, but I really don't like Joe Ryan today. So it's not going to matter as much for me. I really don't like George Kirby today either. So both of them probably going to be off the board for me no matter what, but there's pretty much just that to be paying attention to. I think everything else very clear cut.
Yeah, there are a handful of games with a chance of rain showers, but there's nothing at the moment that I'm looking at as, oh, that game is not going to play, or I have to pull that game out of my player pool. Obviously, over the course of the next hour, maybe something will change on that front. Weather pun. But as of right now, everything looks good to me. There's nothing... There's nothing. A Dirty O in the chat said would not risk that the Twins game happens. Let me see. Last I looked,
good for what it's worth.
Last I looked, it didn't seem too bad. We've got we've got. It's raining right now, and it was raining earlier, but it looks like it's supposed to be done raining right at the time of the start of the game. Maybe they have to do a slight rain delay at the top, but it doesn't look like it's going to be an issue throughout the night. At the top of the game, perhaps. But then the other part of it that Eric had said as well, it's not like that's a game that I'm expecting to get. I'm doing an update to my Sims run here, but it's also not a game I'm expecting to get a ton of exposure to anyway. But I don't think it's a game that looks super likely to be canceled.
No, not canceled. I'm just saying that it's the only one that I'm really paying attention to for weather period. And I don't really have a ton of interest in it. And that's knowing that Cal Raleigh is somebody who can win a catcher position quite mightily every single time out. But I think there's just other places that I'm going to go on the board for pitching for stacks. So not going to remove it from my player pool, but I don't think I'm going to get to it anyway.
So let's start breaking down some of the pitchers for tonight. And we'll begin at the high end with two of the most popular the two most popular pitchers on the slate. Yeah. Zach Wheeler, he is 33% owned. Logan Webb, he is 23% owned. To be honest, I'm pretty surprised that Logan Webb isn't more popular considering the matchup here against the Marlins. Marlins, which you had astutely pointed out just before we started here, that's actually the only lineup that we're still waiting on. And I can't imagine whatever that lineup is going to change my exposure in any kind of way because I'm not going to be stacking them today. So Zach Wheeler's 33% owned. Logan Webb, 23% owned. They're $10,300 and $10,000. Of the two pitchers on DraftKings who are priced $10K plus, do you like both, neither, or do you have a strong preference between the two?
Both. I'm playing a ton of both. When I say that there's tons of pitching options, there are tons of pitching options. I just like these two a lot more than I like everybody else. Zach Wheeler, 33% K rate. You've got so many noticeable things as far as 80.8% ground ball, strand rate, 256 BABIP, 91 whip, 0.91 whip for Zach Wheeler here over the course of this season. I mean, he just looks ridiculous. And you get to go up against a very, very righty heavy lineup in the Houston Astros. I mean, yesterday, Eitan and I were both talking through that. We ended up putting a single game parlay collab together. We both took the over of pitching outs for Valdez and for Suarez. Goes into it becomes a 1-0 game. Cooper Hummel, the only home run, the only run of the entire game, him going yaya off of Suarez, Apo Taco. And I don't know what to say other than Zach Wheeler looks very similar, obviously, from the other side and gets the platoon against just about everybody. And then on the other side with Logan Webb, he's got the Slate leading xFIP. He is just the most dynamic guy when it comes to length that we've got going in baseball right now. His 18 and a half, 20 and a half, like pitching outs for him from a betting perspective have just gotten nuclear. And when you use the market to kind of inform some of your DFS play, Logan Webb is a guy that will always pop on FanDuel. And then it's always been, oh, what's going on with the strikeout rate? This year, nothing. 27.9% K rate, a matchup with the Marlins in San Francisco. There's absolutely nothing left to like. So nothing not to like. So I'm north of 50% on both.
Yeah. So like you, I like both of them a whole lot. I think they are the two strongest pitching options on the slate, although there is one other pitcher who's kind of close to the two of them, who we'll talk about in a little bit as well. But I do prefer Zach Wheeler to Logan Webb. And the main reason why is, even though Logan Webb, to what you brought up before, the strikeouts are higher this year, I still view Zach Wheeler as being the higher upside DFS option compared to Logan Webb. So I prefer Zach Wheeler to Webb, but overall, I like both of them a bunch. I'm overweight to both of them. And I do think they are the two pitchers you guys should be rostering in cash games today. The only other consideration to make here, the Dodgers are playing in Coors Field, Eric. If you are jamming Logan Webb and Zach Wheeler, what does that mean for your Coors Field exposure? I know we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it's a relevant talking point, because if you're jamming the two highest priced pitchers, it stands to reason that it's going to be fairly difficult to get to Dodger stacks.
Yeah, it is, but I think you can still find your way onto a lot of Ohtani, which was kind of my talking point yesterday. It's so funny too. I'm just like, Michael Conforto's broken, and a lot of sharp people I know, thank God I didn't play his under hits prop yesterday, because boy, oh boy, did Michael Conforto decide to try to play for his job. He's been crazy bad this entire season and goes completely ends up being part of the 5-2, I believe it was a 5-2 winner that we ended up having. Colorado, I think, ended up being the 5-man when it was all said and done that ended up winning. But I am looking at basically everything in my lineups here. Same story. I can get to Ohtani. I can get to Dalton Rushing there at catcher. I can play Michael Conforto. But with no Will Smith in the lineup, and no real interest in going towards Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez at his price, I think it's kind of easy to play some of the Dodgers bets that I want to. I'm just not going to play them a lot as 5-mans yet again.
Is Ohtani the most expensive hitter ever on this slate? I can't remember a hitter being more expensive than this. I mean, it's possible. I just don't remember it.
No, he was 7,200 yesterday, 7,400 today. Nope, can't remember it. I know Schwarber was 7K at one point last year, but
it's not 74, though. It's a big price point. Once again, I'm just kind of firing from the hip here. So, chat, if you guys can remember, for all I know, it could be like Ohtani against Senzatella sometime last year. He was 76 or something like that. But at least as far as I can remember, this is the most expensive I could recall him being. And, I mean, realistically, as expensive as he is, he could homer today, and that might not even mean he's necessary or anything like that, because it is a massive, massive price tag to pay. There are a bunch of hitters I like on this slate who I am stunned their ownership isn't higher, and you could combine the prices of some of these guys together, and it doesn't equal Ohtani's price point. So
yeah, it's nuts.
So we'll see. I'm curious to see what the ownership actually ends up coming in on Ohtani.
It came in lower yesterday, for what it's worth. It came in a lot lower than projected yesterday. We had it projected a lot higher, especially Ohtani. Ohtani came in a lot lower than I was anticipating. I think we had 30%, 40% ownership throughout the day. It kind of ranged in that. I think closer to lock, we ended up a little bit lower there, around 30%, but he ended up 22% in the main from what I remember. And then you ended up with the Dodger 5-mans a lot lower. But again, there is a push and pull on certain slates. And yesterday, Taj Bradley was the only guy that I highlighted that I liked in the 7K range. Ended up 7x his ownership, as he ended up only 3%. He puts up 25. That felt sharp, but nice. Didn't have the Colorado Rockies, didn't really have the right stacks. And it became a stack day because Taj Bradley and Garrett Crochet free square, those were kind of the two that we jammed yesterday, and I just didn't have the right stacks with it. So such is life sometimes in MLB DFS. Thought it was going to be a bink day, but it was not a bink day.
Well, the good news for you is that when we talk about stacks in a little bit, I've got some good feels towards stacks that hopefully I feel good about them working.
I love when you're feeling. I love it.
We'll see. We'll see. Let's talk about the next grouping of pitchers. We'll just combine all the 9K and the 8K guys together. Max Fried is $9,500. Joe Ryan, 9K. Yamamoto is $8,800. Matt Boyd, $8,300. George Kirby, 8K. I know from what you had said earlier that you are not super high on Joe Ryan or George Kirby for today in that matchup between the Mariners and the Twins. So what are you liking, if anything, in the 8K range and the couple of 9K pitchers?
Yeah, not a ton. I mean, George Kirby would be fine. Again, we'll check the weather as we go in here. The Twins are striking out a boatload. And Joe Ryan going up against Seattle, too. I mean, he's been the best of our starters. I just get a little bit worried when you look at some of his splits. We have so many right-handed bats that Joe Ryan just dominates, like north of a 30% K rate, ridiculous stuff. But then he's right around 20% against lefties. And there's 6 lefties that we're going to get, including the switch hitters like Cal Raleigh in that Seattle lineup today. Becomes a little bit difficult for me to justify going to him with like precipitation in the area. And so I'm just kind of looking for any kind of closure there whatsoever. Maybe I end up with some trace amounts of him when it's all said and done. But at 9K, I'd rather just get to the expensive side of things. And then George Kirby, he gets the Minnesota matchup that's just been fruitful. You get Wallner, you get Clemens in the lineup. That is useful. Byron Buxton, he's kind of like your better O'Neill Cruz in terms of like a little bit lower strikeout rate, a lot more home runs that you're getting out of him, especially in his ballpark. But he still strikes out a bunch for a leadoff hitter. I will say that much. So it's still a really good spot for a guy like George Kirby. I just don't know if we get that strikeout rate north of like 26% the rest of the way, Greg, because, you know, you're an Elon guy. He's an Elon guy. You guys have the rapport together, but like, I'm more inclined to play him just because of the price tag at 8K between the two of them. But do you really have any of them? Because like I ran the first grouping of Sims and like Joe Ryan looked much better, but like I just feel more interested in George Kirby.
So there are 2 pitchers that I like in the price range I laid out here. One of them is Yamamoto. He's $8,800 against the Rockies. No. And to me, if I'm going to be getting a pitcher of the caliber of Yamamoto at $8,800 against the Rockies, this Rockies offense yields massive upside against it. They're terrible. It's Coors Field, so at any point in time, you know, they can put balls in play and things can end up happening. But this Rockies offense is so abysmally terrible. This is arguably the worst team that we've ever seen at all in the big leagues. I know they've won a little bit more games as of late, so they're no longer on pace to finish like 30 and 132 or whatever.
Congratulations. Yay.
Yeah, there was a point in time not all that long ago where they were on pace to finish with sub 30 wins. But yeah, I would roster just about anybody against the Colorado Rockies. So with that in mind, I think that it's worth taking shots on Yamamoto at a depressed price point against them.
I have 0%. And I love Yamamoto. I love him. I don't love 8, 6, and 6. Those are his swinging strikes in his last 3 outings. I get San Francisco and I get San Diego are not Colorado. I would expect more than 6 swinging strikes here, but that is an auspiciously low number, especially the last 2, 102 and 100 pitches, Greg. 6 swinging strikes in each. We're talking a sub 6% swinging strike rate. Like, I don't know what's going on. He has such a good fastball. It grades out so well. But now the breaking stuff just isn't really complimenting it right now. The strikeouts have been down, and it's undeniable that there are some issues going on. And again, it's been some big batted ball events, like Schmidt hitting the grand slam in the second inning was not exactly what you're looking for as a Dodger fan, or Yamamoto. I mean, I think I was at that game. Was I at that game? I've been at a lot of Dodger games recently, but like, I don't love what I've seen from Yamamoto in the data, and I don't love the fact that he's going to be like the second, third most popular pitcher that we have on this slate. I strongly prefer Wheeler and Webb in their spots, and I get it's 1,200, 1,500, and there's a difference there, but I think there's a lot of like cheaper punt guys. We'll get to Colton Gordon. We'll get to Didier Fuentes. Like, I'm happy to mix and match some of these dudes and really get to it. And I think Drew Rasmussen is like criminally owned right now. 3% for my dude, Drew Rasmussen. I know that there's pitch count concerns, but like, I just have so many other pitchers that I'd rather rotate between than play a chalky Yamamoto. I mean, I'm definitely scared about how many Rockies I have. I don't think the Rockies are necessarily going to be successful, but in terms of strikeout upside, I haven't seen a lot of good stuff from Yamamoto recently that gives me the warm fuzzies with him being the third most popular pitcher.
Yeah, so his last start against the Padres, 5 strikeouts, no walks. He did have the bad start the reference against the Giants, where he had 4 strikeouts, 5 walks. Start before they did have 9 strikeouts against the Cardinals. One thing that doesn't help the swing strike rate is that they were just looking at a bunch of called strike threes. So, you don't even get the opportunity to get swing and misses if they're just going to take strike threes on some of them. But it's not like you have to go that far back to find a game where he had strikeout upside. It was 9, and that was, June 7th. It was 3 starts ago. So it's also matchups. The Giants offense has been pretty decent this year. Padres offense has been pretty decent this year. So his recent matchups, Padres, Giants, Cardinals, Yankees, I'm not going to disagree with you that Yamamoto isn't in the best form, but he's pitching against the Rockies. This is the easiest matchup he's had the entire season, discounting the ballpark factor, obviously, but he's had a really tough strength of schedule as of late.
Yeah, 182 ISO. That's what the Colorado Rockies have at home this season, Greg, against right-handed pitching. That's the 3rd best in baseball. It makes sense because it's Coors Field. It's like legitimately going to pop. You'd almost be shocked. Sorry, that's 5th best in baseball. You'd almost be shocked if they didn't have over a 180 ISO in Coors Field. But like the fact remains, this is a terrible ballpark to be pitching in. This is an offense that, you referenced it. They're not good, but they're in Coors Field, and the data this season still shows out that despite being so inept against right-handed pitching, a 182 ISO and a 90 WRC plus aren't horrible. So I don't know what to make of that entirely with Yamamoto, and I wouldn't have any of these gripes if his ownership was a little bit lower, and if I didn't see him written up everywhere, and if I didn't see him popping in the Sims. Like, if he ends up somehow more popular than Logan Webb, I would never forgive myself. With what I've seen from both of them for the last 3 weeks and the way that I go about breaking down pitchers and the way I go about making money, I do not like what I've seen from Yamamoto at all. You need the breaking stuff to complement off of the fastball. Every single pitcher, unless you just have that wipeout changeup, unless you have a wipeout slider that you throw as your primary pitch, if you're a primary fastball guy, and that is what Yamamoto is, 38% usage on it, and split finger, basically a situational pitch. It drops 5 miles per hour, has the different movement on it, but the curveball and the cutter, it's just been a problem lately, and I can't get over it. Again, wouldn't have any of these problems if it wasn't for his ownership.
The other pitcher I like in this price range, by the way, George Kirby. Just because his price is down, he's not pitched all that well this season. Got off to the late start, opened up the year on the injured list. The number one thing that I like to see from George Kirby, there are no pitch count concerns at all anymore. No. That's the last few starts, 95, 96, 101, 85 pitches. He opened up the year throwing around 70 pitches. That's no longer an issue. His overall data this year, he's only pitched 30 innings. He's got a 6.16 ERA, a 4.64 expected ERA. He's pitching well below expectations, but when you consider he got off to the late start to the season, and now I think that it's pretty reasonable to think there could be some rust there. At some point, there's enough of a track record here. Former top prospect. He's had an ERA sub 3.5 now, or 3.53, 3.35, 3.39 each of his first 3 seasons in the big leagues. I think going forward, we should expect George Kirby to get back on track. Will it happen today or not? I'm not exactly sure, but I'm willing to roll the dice at this kind of price point, especially because you consider that this was a guy in the past who always worked really deep into games. And it was something where, sure, he wasn't a guy who had a 25, 26% strikeout rate. He was like 22, 23%, but pretty economical with his pitch counts, was typically able to go 6-7 innings regularly. If he was a little bit more expensive, he would be a no for me. But at this price point, I'm okay taking some shots on George Kirby. But nothing else really stands out too much to me in the 8K range. We could talk about some of the cheaper pitchers, Eric. And who do you like punting with, if anybody, below 8K?
Yeah, so it's more of an ownership thing than anything, but one of the biggest pieces of CLV I've had in the pitching streets in quite some time. I bet yesterday Drew Rasmussen under 2.5 earnouts at -115. It's north of -185 right now. I did not see, it's under 2.5 earned runs, -115. It's now north of -180. It's basically 1.5 most everywhere that you look now. Obviously that's juice to the over, because that'd be ridiculous if it wasn't, but I know the strikeout stuff isn't all that appealing. I know it's not all that good of a spot when you look at the park factors of Kaufman. It is 90 degrees with the wind blowing out today, but I was in love with Taj Bradley yesterday because Kansas City just offers nothing from the left side of the plate that I'm all that impressed by. And I think Caglianon is going to be really good. This Jack character is going to have crazy power. He's got to learn to loft it. He's got to learn to do a lot of things better in terms of plate discipline, which was the main reason they were worried about bringing him up in the first place. And boy, that's come to fruition. But Vinny Pasquantino is basically the guy that I have to worry about in this lineup, and Bobby Witt. Sal Perez has started to have a pulse, but Drew Rasmussen, man, 0.76 whip against righties on the season. I mean, it just stood off the page. There's certain teams, Houston, the Angels, and I've kind of put Kansas City in that bucket because of how bad John Rave and Kyle Isbell are. Like, they're just horrendous lefties that almost don't even count for me. And I think when you look at the two lefties that they do have in the lineup that I'm kind of like factoring in, I feel like you're probably getting an interesting discount on Drew Rasmussen. Talked about him at length from a betting perspective last night, but I'm surprised to see only 3%. It's purely because of a 3.5K prop and some of the pitch count concerns. But we also have so many other dudes. Colton Gordon, I think, is very fascinating. I think the strikeout stuff's going to be pretty good at the big league level. He's been north of 22%. He's 6,500 on today's slate. Now, he's the only one pulling double digits outside of Edward Cabrera, who is crazy popular in San Francisco. And I get it. Strikeout stuff's appealing. I'm going to be taking some shots on it too. But like, I think Colton Gordon at least merits around double-digit ownership in your lineups. And Didier Fuentes, I don't have any clue what to expect out of him. He is so young. The arm talent is so raw. I think you're going to see some very volatile outings from him. I don't think he's really worth it on this slate. I'm going to just kind of see if the strikeout stuff can kind of show out. Against the Marlins. 1 outing, 4 earned. He gave up fly ball contact. It is definitely going to be a difficult thing if you're giving up fly ball contact against this Mets team in 90+ degree weather with Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso at the top of it. But I get taking shots on him if you really wanted it. But it is very clearly for me Cabrera 1. And then I really like Connor Gordon there at that price tag. And Drew Rasmussen, I have 12% of him as well. 4x the field on a 3% guy.
Yeah, I don't have Fuentes in lineups either. I have him. So yeah, he's in one of my top 150 lineups, super cheap at $5,700. I mean, I guess if you're dedicated to stacking the Dodgers tonight, which is not if you say you want to play the Dodgers in Coors Field, I get it. They're just super expensive, so it's hard to figure out how to make the pitching work. So that's where you get Fuentes at, close to 10% ownership. I think he's a little bit more popular than he should be, but it's just, I think it's just because people are trying to find ways to pay up for Coors Field. But Fuentes, we've got not all that much data on him at the big leagues. Like you said, he's made 1 start. He pitched 5 innings. One thing that does stand out in his minor league numbers, which you had kind of alluded to, Eric, massive strikeout stuff. One thing I do think is kind of interesting is he has really struggled with earned runs throughout his time in the minor leagues, but his underlying numbers look good. So I don't know exactly what to make of it because, we don't have like batted ball data on anything like that on him, but he's a guy who had some pretty high home run to fly ball rates at times in the minor leagues. So I think there's a chance he was giving up a lot of hard contact down there, but who knows? He's got good stuff. His average fastball velocity was 96 miles per hour in his first start. If you guys absolutely wanted to go all the way to the bottom and punt to pay up for the Dodgers, cool. I think that is a reasonable guy to click on, but he's not landing in my lineups personally, is Fuentes. The guy I totally agree with you on. And, there's certain guys we have these discussions about kind of whenever they start. Edward Cabrera, just insanely high variance pitcher, but he's never expensive. I don't know why he's always this cheap, but he's 3.81 ERA, 4.17 expected ERA, 25% strikeout rate, 26% strike rate overall for his career. Whenever he pitches just serviceably for a game and doesn't get lit up, it ends up being a really good DFS performance because he's always priced like around 7K. So Edward Cabrera at this kind of price point, almost by default, makes him the best punt option on any slate that he's on.
Agreed. It's just hard not to look at the metrics for it. Like, no matter what, San Francisco is one of those teams that will have pesky outings, but this lineup configuration is kind of helpful to us to some extent. Like Mike Yastrzemski this season, 21.2% K rate. I don't think you or me or anybody who pays attention to baseball thinks that that's sustainable. He's going to be a 25, 26% K rate guy. You know how I know this? He's been a 25, 26% K rate guy from 2019 when he entered the league all the way to 2024. Hasn't had a single season below 24%. And he's leading off tonight. So we know we're going to get strikeout opportunities that are above average out of the leadoff spot with him. You then carry it over to Devers, who is definitely a good bat, but I mean, this is just a terrible ballpark to get dropped into. So despite the fact that Devers is as talented as he is, he's still going to be a dude who strikes out north of 23%. That's just who he's been his entire career. You have Dom Smith batting cleanup today. That feels pretty good to know that that's going to be your matchup in that spot. You go to Willy Adames, who's still in the lineup, still in the top 7. You know, it's Casey Schmidt, 25% K rate. It's a abnormally good strikeout San Francisco lineup based on what we've seen from them at other times this season where they've buried Mike Yastrzemski. And then Edward Cabrera has north of a 24% K rate, right around 25%, decent enough to both sides of the plate. And then it's the best ballpark you could drop him into for his skill set. So Edward Cabrera, it's hard to say that he isn't the best punt by leaps and bounds, but the only reason that I'm not going to go crazy with him is I think Colton Gordon legitimately has comparable upside just from the stuff.
Yeah, $6,500 Colton Gordon. I have him in some lineups, but I do have about 3 times as much Edward Cabrera as I have of Colton Gordon. Cabrera is also a little bit more popular, but relative to ownership, I also have more Cabrera than I have of Colton Gordon. Any other talking points for you at pitcher?
Just to bring up Didier Fuentes one more time, because I had, a buddy of mine that is DMing me and just giving me this and that and this and that. And it's like, yo, he's 20 years old. It's so hard to know what to make of a 20-year-old, but I do know he's got a lot of veterans that he's going to be pitching against. Lindor, Soto, Alonso. It is going to be a drastically more difficult matchup than some other spots that will get him cheap. So I just hope he keeps getting his face blown off and we get a chance to roster him against like a deadbeat lineup, because it's not been an easy start to him as far as like getting rolled out against Miami. They're more strikeout immune than you would think. I've said that multiple times, especially with like Madres or whatever his name is, who's not there anymore, got sent back to AAA. But Didier Fuentes has great stuff. It's just fly ball contact after fly ball contact, and line drive rate is way too high at AAA over the course of this season. He is going to have some really good starts ahead of him. It's not going to hopefully be here.
Somebody in chat I saw was asking about Jacob Misiorowski, who, has been lights out this year, but already pitched today in one of the more fun pitching matchups of the year. Paul Skeens against Jacob Misiorowski. There's rumors that Livy Dunn is going to have to leave Paul Skeens and go to another young pitcher after what happened earlier, because he's looking pretty damn good. Like, I don't know where you
props. He's cashed for me. I love this man. I love him.
I don't know where you rank him amongst top pitchers in baseball right now, but he's pretty damn good. I wouldn't say he's the 3rd best pitcher in baseball. He's good though. Okay. I don't do this with young arms very often, but again, it's the same thing I brought up when I talked about him on the slate that he debuted and we just jammed him. I've never been that impressed by stuff that I've looked on a sheet, and I don't really do much of my dynasty stuff anymore. So I don't really pay attention to a lot of the AAA guys till they show up, and then I'll break them down for Lindy stuff night before. And I remember pulling up his YouTube and just like literally jaw open, like Livy Dunn will be for him later. Just couldn't believe what I was watching. 103 with sink, 91 curveball. Like everything about it made no sense to me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to feel like an idiot if I don't bet his K prop immediately that first time out. Then I bet it the second time out against my Twins, then bet it today. And it's just like, he just keeps printing. So obviously gamble responsibly, but felt really good about those reads. So now I'm curious. So I think it's reasonable to say the pitchers you have ahead of him are Skeens and Skubal, correct?
Skubal is one. I and it's not recency bias that they just faced each other and one guy won at home and one did. So Paul Skeens has a couple of things that are going on with him right now. I'm a little worried about some of his control that we've seen lately. He walks a lot of dudes early on in games. He eases into starts, and taking on a Brewers team. I mean, obviously they ended up getting to him today. Only goes to 4 innings, but this has been a trend from a lot of the Paul Skeens starts that I've watched. This Jacob kid comes at you immediately. And there are so many freebies that he gets because it's a 103 sinker that's down in the zone. He's going to get so much ground ball contact. If you made me start a draft, I think it would go Tariq Skubal. The way I want to win baseball games, I'm probably taking Logan Webb, even though I don't think he has the best stuff by any means. But Logan Webb's stuff has gotten better over the last 2 years. And then I'd probably take Jacob 3A, 3B. Kadai Senga when healthy. Kadai Senga I'd probably put above him. Kadai Senga with a forkball is unfair. Just don't.
I still think you're overlooking guys like Zach Wheeler. I would take Wheeler ahead of him, which also kind of related because once again, to bring up your Discord channel, for instance, Zach Wheeler's a guy who I bet to win Cy Young a while ago. I still think the odds are off there. I know they've come down a little bit, but let's see if it changed actually after today. Yeah. Maybe it's changed after today's start.
You're talking to a guy who legitimately was able to partially buy a house because of because of some of your takes between Corbin Burns and then the postseason, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler getting to just running the table all the way to because they played I think the Dodgers and the Padres on the way, and they weren't favorites in either of those. And Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler kept absolutely printing in that postseason. They were the best 1-2 tandem there. And I love them, but starting now, obviously one's a lot younger with a lot less mileage on the tires. So I think that was what I was factoring in is I would take Jacob number 3 right now.
Oh yeah. So I just asked who's the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Oh, that's a completely different question. I was factoring who I would want to take in a draft.
So the tie into the Cy Young odds, they've changed a lot. Paul Skeens went today as a minus 400 favorite to win Cy Young. And I thought, by the way, he's minus 230 now after today starts. Still, to me, too short of odds. I was going to say I really like Zach Wheeler because he was plus 800, but now he's plus 450. So that's kind of changed the equation. But it's kind of funny because they're both pitching today. We've already talked about them. But I think that Zach Wheeler plus 450, Logan Webb plus 850. I wish we could take the field against Paul Skeens with Paul Skeens being minus 230. I wish we could get the field plus 180 or something like that on the other side. But Zach Wheeler, Logan Webb at their odds, I think those are pretty decent looks. I just think that Paul Skeens, even though I do think he's the best pitcher in baseball, I don't think the gap between him and everybody else is as great as what the betting odds are at the moment. 100%. But
dude, I even think Mackenzie Gore has comparable stuff to right now. Mackenzie Gore has a better xFIP straight up than Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I don't love xFIP just because it assumes every pitcher should have the same exact home run to fly ball rate. But I hear you.
Correct.
I hear you.
Correct. I mean, yeah, it's fielding independent. That's the whole idea of it. Is 10.5% or whatever the hell the metric is.
So I prefer FIP to xFIP just because xFIP assumes that every pitcher should have the exact same home run to fly ball rate. FIP assumes that pitcher's home run to fly ball rate is just kind of fluky. What it is. Yep. The real answer is probably somewhere in between.
Then you're going to like Logan Webb even more because Logan Webb is by far the best in FIP every single year. His FIP is ridiculous because he just throws a sinker that has no chance of getting hit in the air. No chance.
For what it's worth, wins above replacement in the National League. Paul Skeens is 1 at 3.2. Actually, he's tied with Logan Webb. Skeens and Webb are both at 3.2, and then Wheeler's next at 2.8. So nothing unexpected there. Pretty much what you would think of as who the current top pitchers are in the National League for the entire season from a value standpoint. Even if you're to say I'm super impressed by Mizraus, obviously him in 3 starts isn't more valuable than however many starts we've gotten out of Wheeler, Skeens, and Webb at this point, 16 apiece. Let's talk really briefly on FanDuel pitching. To me, it's not really all that much different from the DraftKings pitching, but still, we should bring it up before we move on and talk about stacks. What I think is really interesting about FanDuel is how flat the ownership is. There's not a single pitcher on FanDuel projected for more than 14% ownership. Fuentes is 13% owned. Kirby's 13% owned. Cabrera's 12% owned. Joe Ryan is 12% owned. I think Logan Webb and Zach Wheeler are just under-owned on FanDuel. Yep. A lot of this is because people really trying to pay up for Coors Field. So as a result, it's hard for them to get up to the $11K price tag on Logan Webb, the $10,900 price tag on Zach Wheeler. I like both those guys on DraftKings. I like them even more on FanDuel at 4 and 8% ownership. Pay up for pitch and make your lineups a little bit different.
Oh, that was literally all I talked about yesterday. I ended up playing only one lineup over on FanDuel, which I'm mad about. McGreevy was the highest owned pitcher that we had projected going into the slate. I think he ended up second. Crochet did end up beating him out in the end, which was my case. It was like McGreevy was just absurdly owned. Double-digit ownership on that slate. It was purely just to get the stacks and get the Dodgers specifically. And Ohtani, his price on FanDuel was a joke. I feel the same way about Didier Fuentes today. Don't do it. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You will not collect $200 if you play Didier Fuentes. I would flat out remove him from the pool if I were playing FanDuel today. 13.5% ownership, 0. The George Kirby one, I think, is a lot more warranted. Edward Cabrera, a lot more warranted. I would probably still want to have trace amounts of them for sure, but this is the same thing as yesterday where it was just like a Crochet jam over there. I feel Logan Webb is criminally owned. I know he's 11K. I know it's going to be hard to get there. I don't care. We're talking about the most automatic quality start that we have seen in baseball in quite some time. His outs props don't even make sense when you upload them into your sheet every day. It is truly insane. In fact, I want to see the updated number because I know it got bet pretty heavily this morning. He's at 20.5 minus 135 on DraftKings right now. 20.5 minus 135. It's like minus 400 to potentially get over 17.5. So like you're fighting an uphill battle. You basically get 40 put into your lineup when you roster Logan Webb on FanDuel, and you can tell every other pitcher, come get it. Like, good luck.
Yeah, I think both of them are good pay up to be contrarian options over on FanDuel, and they are chalky but good options over on DraftKings. So now, Eric, let's talk about stacks. And where I want to open here is the question we got from Kapanikella in our Discord channel, where he asked us, who is a single entry stack that you and I like the most for today? What is your answer? I'll let you go first, and then I've got mine right behind you.
Colorado Rockies.
Ooh, okay. All right. I'm never going to be upset about rostering a contrarian team at Coors Field. You've already spoken on your feeling that Yamamoto's form is off and that he's not generating swing and misses. So I assume that it's just kind of the same as why you don't like Yamamoto at pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I've been harping on it the last couple. I mean, you brought up the 9 strikeouts. Again, the swinging strike rate has just been something that has routinely not impressed me for over a month. And I feel like I was pretty early to it. And I've been earlier to it from a betting perspective where I've bet against Yamamoto at some of these numbers. I don't think I can stomach doing it against the Dodgers with Dollander today. Like, you're talking such a low chance that the Dodgers just get flat zeroed offensively. Maybe the plus 1.5, plus 2.5 ends up being something that I entertain, but I think the Rockies definitely have enough power with Hunter Goodman coming back. Toglia looks like he's fixed up some stuff. He's still not perfect by any means, but batting 6th today. I like his AAA stint. It looked like it did him some good when he went to Washington and cut down on the strikeouts there. If that continues, I'm going to feel a lot better about it, but I'm a little disappointed to see Moniak batting 7th today. Not sure why. They moved him up to 2 in a number of these spots. Jordan Beck batting 3rd. They've had some spots where they've just kind of had Hunter Goodman out of the lineup a little bit more than I would expect recently. No real rhyme or reason other than they're not playing for anything. He's obviously a building block piece on that team. But I think they're just cheaper with some of these dudes that like Arcia's 3,100, Estrada's 3,600. McMahon 4K, my favorite play of the entire slate at ownership. I just really like the Rockies 5-man against the potentially second most popular pitcher on the slate.
I don't understand the price tags or the ownership on the Yankees hitter. So Aaron Judge is fairly popular, but Stanton is 9% owned at $3,700. Dominguez is 9% owned at $3,500. Yeah. Trent Grisham is $4,100 and 7% owned. Ben Rice is $4,400 and 7% owned. Aaron Judge is the one hitter that's popular on the team, but he's also $6,700. I think there's a really interesting ways to build contrarian Yankee stacks that do not contain Aaron Judge, are very cheap, and enable you to pay up for both Wheeler and Logan Webb. I really like that as a lineup construction, and it's hard to know exactly for sure how lineups are going to be built, but I think Yankee stacks without Aaron Judge are going to be a pretty contrarian way to build the Yankee stack.
Well, Stanton and Jason Dominguez are my two one-offs in my single entry lineup with Colorado. So I'm playing Webb, I'm playing Wheeler, played a 5-man Rockies, punted at a position, and I played Dominguez. I will continue to say this the rest of the year. They need to stop letting Jason Dominguez hit from the other side. They just need to stop. He needs to be only a lefty. He is abysmal, Greg. He is stone cold so bad. He has a 61 WRC plus with a 29% K rate as a righty versus lefties. But against lefties in Great American Small Park, the ownership on Jason Dominguez doesn't make any sense to me. He's my favorite one-off, period, outside of Ryan McMahon. 122 WRC plus, 153 ISO, 781 OPS. He is a drastically different hitter from the left side. And maybe it's something that doesn't bear, like, you go back to 2024 and you look at it, it's the same shit. He had a 43 WRC plus in a very brief stint in the bigs, a 111 WRC plus from the from the left side against righties. 2023 kind of echoes the same thing. 212 WRC plus from the left side, negative 32. Greg, there's no reason the Yankees should ever let him be in the batter's box as a right-handed hitter ever again from now until the end of time.
We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with them. I'm trying to. When's the last time we saw a hitter who was a switch hitter that was converted to only batting from one side? I know it's happened. I can't remember it happening for a minute though.
I can't remember either. I'm sure Google or ChatGPT could be helpful for such things, but I'm telling you, I haven't seen any splits quite like this in my life with a switch hitter, because normally like Ellie De La Cruz, we know he prefers his left side. Like there's certain batters that you just kind of know they're going to be better on that side. Jorge Polanco, the Seattle Mariners have started pinch hitting for him. And I've gotten a lot of value on unders where you take Jorge Polanco, where it's a team that has a lot of lefties coming in because it's Solano, it's Garver. There's lots of pinch hit risk for Polanco, who DHs frequently, so they don't even have to worry about positionality for him. And you get a ton of value in the markets there on him. Jason Dominguez is not a right-handed hitter. Stop it, Yankees. Get him out of switch hitting. Call it a day. He's only a lefty. Oh, was Cedric Mullins a switch hitter?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
A good call. That's a good call by chat. Yeah, so it was a few years ago, Mullins converted from a switch hitter to just a lefty and totally turned his career around. It really took off after that. B Funk in the chat said Vlad. Unless I'm misremember, I never remember Vlad hitting from the left side. I only remember him as a right-hand hitter. Maybe I'm almost positive it's incorrect. If I'm wrong though, then that would be a mea culpa. I'm pretty sure he was always a right-handed hitter. But yeah, Cedric Mullins, that's certainly a good call. He's one. He's probably the most recent one, like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago at this point. But yeah, he was a switch hitter at one point. Other stacks, we should talk about the Dodgers because they're in Coors Field. They're so expensive. You and I like the expensive pitching options, Eric. If the Dodgers go out and score 12 runs today, which is absolutely one of the more likely outcomes for them, I'm probably drawing dead on this slate. It is just too hard for me to get up to the Dodgers with the pitchers I like. I only have 3% 5-man stacks of the Dodgers. I like them as one-offs. I like them as a 3-man stack. It's just hard for me to make 5-mans of them.
Agreed.
Do you have any of them as a 5-man stack?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
2%. So I'm pulling a Josh today, it would appear, because Josh yesterday, same thing. I had like 10 or 12%, and then by lock, I ended up around 6. He had like 2 from the beginning till the end. So shout out Josh on that one. Again, shout out me, Taj Bradley. I'm still mad. How did I not have Colorado yesterday? I'm so mad.
What are the other stacks you're prioritizing for tonight?
Well, you said you had a great gauge on it, so I'm actually going to let you.
Mine's the Yankees. I just don't understand the pricing or the ownership there.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. We have them underrepresented. We have the Dodgers underrepresented too, for what it's worth. I think the other one I really like is Tampa Bay, Michael Wacha, and you can go at him with lefties, you can go at him with righties, and the weather is awesome. So it's the only thing keeping me. Again, Drew Rasmussen, I don't have nearly as much of a stand because Taj Bradley, his stuff plus is exponentially better. His ability, I think, is exponentially better. And I really liked Taj Bradley yesterday. I jammed him north of 20, 25% of my lineups, but I don't feel the same way about Rasmussen. I just feel that he's going to suppress run creation for Kansas City a lot more. Like, that's my conviction there. And that's not really good for DFS. Tampa Bay against Michael Wacha, however, I think is just a really, really good spot. And I know they're more popular, but like, They have some pretty nice price tags. It's Christopher Morel moving up to the 5 hole. He does have some pinch hit risk, but boy, is there a ton of power. And I love when you get smart teams that do smart things. Michael Wacha's been a reverse splits guy throughout his entire career. And we're seeing just like more power given up to righties yet again this season. 6 homers allowed in 46 2/3 to righties. 3 homers allowed to 39 in the third innings to lefties. So I still like Brandon Lau. I still like Jonathan Aranda, but they're not the jams that they normally would be in this kind of weather against a bad righty. And Michael Wacha hasn't been bad this year, but he's a fly ball pitcher taking on some righties that are very interesting. Danny Jansen in the catcher position. I know it hasn't been pretty in the hard hit data, but boy, he lofts a baseball. 24-degree launch angle. One of my favorite off the board plays and favorite bets for the night, Danny Jansen going yard.
So one other stack that I want to bring up here is the Cubs against Eric Fetty. Cubs, a very positively leveraged team in the top stacks, with a 9% chance to be the highest scoring team on the slate, just 6% ownership going to them. So as a standalone, that's something that's always going to stand out to me when there's that big of a difference between a team's odds being a top stack and their ownership in our top stacks tool. But then also Eric Fetty, who if his numbers would pull up on Fangraphs right now, so I could read. Here we go. So I could read it off to you guys. Eric Fetty is a pitcher who's facing regression going forward. He has a 3.54 ERA, but he's a 4.99 expected ERA this year, Eric. So Fetty is not generating strikeouts at all this season. His strikeout rate has plummeted to 15.6%. And he's walking more guys. So he has a 10.2% walk rate with a 15.6% strikeout rate. The only saving grace for him so far this year is that he's allowing like no homers at all.
Yep.
And he has always been a guy who allows a lot of homers. For his career, he's a 14.1% home run to fly ball rate. It's 5.8% this year. If you just get him at not even his career average, the league average home run to fly ball rate for Eric Fetty, then you consider the lack of strikeouts, the amount of guys he's walking this year, and all of a sudden you have a pitcher who could put up some really bad-looking numbers. And I know that you are somebody who has liked the Cubs quite a bit this year, PCA in particular. I think this is a very overlooked offense for tonight.
Not only that, Greg, you are... So one of the things that frustrated me about this, partially, I mean, I've bet it already. I'm going to be posting a long thing in the Discord as soon as we get done. My thing that I absolutely cannot stand about Eric Fetty, and if you acute listeners to the program last night will hear it, Eric Fetty has allowed 6 base runners above average, 15 stolen bases, only 2 caught stealings on the season. He has the worst marks for stolen bases in all of baseball. PCA, Kyle Tucker, these are the 2 best steal bets that I have probably ever seen. And it's not a market that I tap into a ton. But Pete Crow Armstrong has been bet from plus 350 down to plus 225 to steal a base. And I can tell you why, because I did it. And a lot of sharp people are going to be doing it a lot against Eric Fetty. So Kyle Tucker, I think he's the best in terms of prices now that you're looking at. Kyle Tucker's plus 325. I mean, they're going to run amok if they get on base. There's just no stopping them whatsoever. You do not have Yadier Molina behind the dish anymore. It's just, it is no hope. I feel bad, but like they have Yoel Pazzo, who's going to be out there catching today. And Pazzo is not exactly known for his defense. He's more of a just like slugger going up there, swing and miss kind of stuff. He's been in and out of the league for quite some time. They don't even have Pajes behind the dish. So Cubs should run like absolute crazy today. I mean, these are incredible numbers that we're getting on their stolen bases marks.
So that's the other contrarian stack that I like. I think that ownership is way too low on the Chicago Cubs for the upside that they bring to the table against Eric Fetty. Einsteinium wants to know our thoughts on rostering a San Francisco Giants team against a chalky Edward Cabrera. I like the thought. I didn't land on them in my lineups. But I understand where you're coming from. Giants against Cabrera, is that something represented in your lineups at all?
No, it's not.
Yeah. I wish that it was a situation where maybe the ballpark was a little more hitter friendly. There's just so many offenses that are in good spots today, and some like the Yankees that I just don't really understand the price tags on. The Giants also, if I pull up some of their salaries, I don't even think they're that cheap relative to some of the other teams on the slate. What are the Giants' salaries? All right, so the Giants... Yeah, I mean, you've got the hitters that we actually care about for the Giants. Devers is $5,300. Ramos is $4,400. Yastrzemski is $4,100. Outside of Aaron Judge, the Giants are more expensive than the Yankees. So there's just other spots I like. I understand the thought process. They're going up against a high variance, chalky pitcher. Just didn't quite make the cut for myself. By the way, if you guys do want access to our Discord channel and all of the tools that we have here at Stokastic, you could sign up using the link that we have down below in the YouTube description box. You can take advantage of any of our affiliate partners that you see here on screen. For each one you sign up, you get 1 free month of core access to a single sport of your choosing. So pick a couple of these you haven't signed up for. Take advantage of the deposit offers there. Get yourself 2, 3, 4 months of an MLB core package. Good way to get yourself covered for DFS for the rest of the season, especially now that the NBA season is over. Anything else you want to talk about at Stacks, Eric? If not, we'll get into our dong picks.
No, I love dongs.
I bet you do. Dong time, everybody, which you know what that means. Throw your home run picks into chat, and we'll read them off right after Eric and I give out our home run picks.
Of the day! Dang of the day! Here is Emac cha-cha-cha. He wants the cha-cha-cha. I can't help but do cha-cha-cha. We got Emac in the chat with Loco. I can't help it. I love dongs and ooh, dong of the day.
We owe Spags royalties every time you sing that.
Good. Pay that man his manions.
Yeah, a couple more. He's gonna two puppets, I think, is what's gonna be in the future there. Never know. That might be what happens. He pays a lot.
Puppets, one cup.
Yeah, I think he's only paid $18,000 for that customized puppet of you. It was steep cost. Worth it though. Worth it. Eric, all that aside, who are you picking homer tonight?
Oh, so many options, so little time, my friends. But it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful time for targeting exactly what you want. And I'm going to give you a stolen base and a home run. Greg brought it up beforehand as well. Pete Crow Armstrong. I bet him to homer. I bet him to steal a bag. I don't see how he doesn't provide value. Now, that all being said, he's not in my single entry lineup right now, but he is my 4th highest owned batter, I believe, and relative to ownership, still the guy that I'm getting to the most. Him and Kyle Tucker, just fantastic one-offs, a lot cheaper than that of Ohtani, $7,400. Give me Kyle Tucker, Pete Armstrong, but specifically PCA. Can we get the MVP? Well, I mean, he's pitching, so that's probably never going to happen in a million years. Anyway, second in MVP voting, PCA, dong of the day.
Giancarlo Stanton will homer at single-digit ownership and a $3,700 price tag. That is my pick. And from chat, let's see what we got from chat. Flim Flam Man is going with Matt Olson. We've got NY Steele going with Jeff McNeil. Jameson 101 is going with Dominic Smith. Tom Olson is also going with Matt Olson. We've got FK going with Tyler Freeman. We've got Ryan Schindler going with Brandon Lau. Nicholas Barrett has got Francisco Lindor and PCA. B-Funk is going with Nick Castellanos. We've got, all right, I'm going to say, KB, if you're not stacking the Cubs today, you probably should because these are your home run picks. He's got PCA, Seiya Suzuki, and Kyle Tucker to homer today. Rooster Slinky is going with Brett Beatty. We've got CPA Joe K going with Bobby Witt. Comment God has got Dansby Swanson. Orlando Hewitt has Ronald Acuna. So does, oh no, that was just him posting twice. Fact 74 has got Brandon Nimmo here. I knew somebody else had Acuna
sure
as
did.
well.
Sure, Jan. Sure.
Will Cream also went with Acuna.
This is our place of employment. This is always fantastic to walk into. Oh.
Nicholas Robertson has got Castellanos. Aaron Hines has got Michael Bush. We've got Red Kell going with Jose Altuve. Chris Albers has got Reese McGuire. Porzingis has got Caglione. Sotex has got Mike Yastrzemski. Jeffrey Oren has got Bobby Witt Jr. Barnaby O'Toole has got Jonathan Aranda. Andre B is going with Turner. Nate has got Mickey Moniak. G Joyner has got Dominguez. We've got Caminero from Austin Klabilski. We've got Rance going with Pete Alonso. Dalia from RPJ. We've got Soto from Pierre. We've got Nimmo from Steven Jones. And then finally, bringing us home, news god himself, Kyle Schwarber. Don't forget, he delivers you the news. Now he's delivering you home run picks as well. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Other than that, good luck. We'll see you guys here tomorrow. Have a good night.